Diary of a Sassy Heroine, a high school girl's journal, kids' adventure stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. Chelsea seemed to be a regular girl at first, but during her high school years she realized she had a superpower. She got in touch with friends, criminals, and shadows from the past. When she came home, she trained endlessly, becoming even better at martial arts than the boys in school. But when Chelsea's mother was in trouble, she stood, ready to skip school for once and deal with the injustice her mom was confronted with. What she found may not have been a pleasant surprise, but the truth prevailed in the end. If you're curious about what made Chelsea a heroine who saved her own mother from a terrible fate, then move on to the first entry of her diary. She doesn't beat around the bush and explains what happened in detail. Chapter 1. High School. Dear Diary, I will tell you the story of my latest adventure. It was great. If anyone else reads this diary, which they're not supposed to because it's mine and it could be embarrassing, then let me just introduce myself. I am Chelsea and I am 14 years old. Middle school was a nightmare, but now that I am in high school, I am finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I only have a few more years left of school and then I am free. I can hardly wait to get that degree and hang it on the wall or put it on a dusty shelf. Or maybe I'll be so done with school that I will use it as toilet paper. No, just kidding. My mom values my education and hopes I will go to a good college someday. I can see that, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind it if it's going to be like the past few months. Sure, the older high school kids still try to look down on the newbies, but in middle school it was even worse. Everyone is trying to put others down so they can become a bit more popular. Thinking of it, what is popularity anyway? Well, whatever it is, the 11 to 14-year-olds think it's way too important. I just try to stay true to myself. Then nobody will get hurt. Other teenagers tell me I'm loud and obnoxious. In a way, they may be right, but I believe that if you just say how it is, then why should anyone take offense? I mean, there are exceptions, and sometimes I have to put a sock in my mouth. Yesterday I told the teacher he looked like a nerd. P.S. He really did. And I told another kid who was eating greasy hamburgers and drinking soda to cut down on the calories. Someday he'll appreciate my advice. Okay, I won't say that I am perfect. I blurt it out sometimes before I think about it. It is like the words come out of my mouth and my brain is still trying to catch up with me. Not everyone likes the way I think. At the same time, my powerful and forward way of thinking has helped me so many times when I was in trouble. It has helped me to gain respect and be a little more influential. When you say what everyone else is thinking, but you're the only one who has the guts to actually say it, you will start noticing that others follow your lead. Here's an example of what happened a few days ago. I was in school. The school looks a little grim if you ask me. They could easily put some bright colors on the screen doors or the window frames so that it would appear as a fun place, but school policy wanted it to be this dull. It was Monday morning. Nobody likes Mondays because it means the weekend is over. Your freedom is lost and you're back in class, stuck with your nose in the boring books and listening to the endless spiel of a teacher who didn't pursue a real career and decided to teach high school. Useless facts of knowledge are poured on you, like a toxic rain that kills plants, trees, and animals, forcing you to waste your childhood on some king in the 17th century, or a math problem without a real answer for X. And then, once you're done figuring out a complicated formula, or reading about the arrogance of this royal loser, the only thing that remains with you is that you can't even make money with answering those trivia because you know you'll never get selected for a show or contest. My point is the following question. What is the point? Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. I was going to describe the popularity battle based on the silly high school hierarchy these ignorant teenagers made up. So, as I was saying, it was Monday morning. I walked through the hallway minding my own business when a girl, I think her name was Tiffany, came to me and asked, "Wow, such beautiful earrings. How much were they? Did you get them for free, or did you just find them in the trash in the neighbor's backyard?" Now, the animal in me was bound to pounce on her and punch her so hard that it would knock her teeth out. I felt the aggression, and I am sure a lot of boys would have reacted this way if they concerned guy-to-guy threats. But girls aren't allowed to fight physically. It's not high class. As a girl, you need to wear a consistent mask of an uncaring attitude. Full confidence in the eyes of others is the goal. So I said, "What's your name again, Tinkerbell?" "Tiffany," she corrected me. "Oh, that's right. I remember you. I think it was your mom whom I met at the market. She pointed out these beautiful earrings and told me they would look better on me because they were more my color. Her style is amazing. We became best buddies." "You're lying. My mom would never go shopping with you," Tiffany protested. "Wait, you mean to say she didn't tell you?" I said as I chuckled. "Well, then again, I'm not surprised." Score. She was speechless. I turned around with elegance, blew a kiss, said ta-ta, and left her there with her so-called friends, who were unimpressed with her pathetic comeback remarks. She never bothered me after that. It's sickening how many have tried to take me down like that. Here are the rules I made up. 1. You can't lose your temper. It shows weakness. 2. You have to pretend you don't care. 3. You can't let them get away with it, or they'll walk all over you. 4. Don't ever start it, because then you become as mean as they are. 5. Be smart and know what others appreciate. Referring to their arrogance will help you gain more favor than referring to their skin color, or something else which is frowned upon. Stay decent and true to your conscience. With these rules, I survived middle school, and fortunately, high school was a little easier. Still, I had to confront all those like Tiffany who thought they were so much better than anyone else. It was almost a daily struggle. My mother was incredibly sweet. My dad was always at work or on business trips. I think my mom missed him sometimes, but she kept it in and never showed sadness. Occasionally, my dad would come home and tell us he made a lot of money. I loved him and his efforts to provide. It would have been more fun if he was around more often. But a girl can't have everything. Maybe later when his income increases. Whenever I would come home, my mom had butterscotch toffees or cookies. It was either the first or the last. She always made them fresh with her secret recipe, and I never got enough of them. Even friends who came over sometimes would give my mom compliments about her sweets and treats. There were times that I took it for granted and just told her to hand over the candy already. But later I would think about it and conclude that I was a little too spoiled. I never had a hard time apologizing, so it always got solved quickly. And then there's my annoying little brother, who is 5 years old. I think he was raised on a different planet before he was born. He always finds a way to mess up the house or break something. When I point it out, my mom tells me that he is only 5, so don't be too hard on him. Were my parents that lenient when I was that age? I doubt it. So now you know something about me. I'm just the same as everyone else, aren't I? Nothing special there. Well, that's what I thought too, at first. Chapter 2. Superpower. I have a superpower. That's what I discovered at that age, when I was 14. I always suspected it a little bit, but I never seemed to grasp the reality of it. I already mentioned I am loud and obnoxious, but my superpower actually is, don't laugh, to emit enhanced destructive and deafening screams of a high amplitude. In other words, I can break stuff by screaming at it. I call it a sonic scream. If I scream at my loudest, it won't be just the windows that break, but anything in my path within a certain radius. Isn't it awesome? I know what you're thinking. How can that ever help anyone, you may ask? Well, that's where the rest of the story fits in. I didn't know what to do with it, but eventually it came in handy. I will show you throughout this true story that even a superpower as pointless as mine can be applied to achieve good things. Besides the most important parts of the story I will tell you, I can remember a few examples when it served me well. One time, a drunk guy came to me. He was several years older, I think. I walked through the city with two of my best friends, Brittany and Kiara. We were a little late and had to get home before dark. The sun wasn't set yet, but we didn't have much time either. So after our shopping spree and a lovely dinner at a foreign restaurant, we turned around the corner and bumped into this jerk on accident. He was blonde and his eyes were blue. I remember it well because I thought he was a little cute. However, despite his appearance, he stank. He had been drinking too much. It was obvious. "Where are you girls going?" he asked. "None of your business," I said. "And why not? You are such a fine-looking lady. Why don't you come home with me and we can get to know each other better?" "Excuse me?" I said. "Perhaps in your dreams when you are sober, dweeb. The answer is no. Now go away." But my direct remarks just made it worse. He got a little pushy and grabbed my arm. "Hey, let go!" I shouted. "What do you think you're doing?" my friends yelled. "Go bother someone else." He kept tugging my arm and mentioning what a great couple we would make, insinuating that I was mature and beautiful and hot. It was upsetting. I didn't like it at all, but he didn't stop. With a firm grip, he pulled me closer and tried to kiss me. That's when I screamed. Before I continue to narrate what happened, I want to explain my justifications. Do you get the picture? This guy was coming on to me and didn't know what the word no meant. In no way was it my intention to harm him the way I did. And thinking about it afterwards, I could have just kneed him where guys don't like to get hurt, if you know what I mean. But I just didn't know my own strength. That is, the strength of my scream. I was just scared and offended by this bozo. So yes, I screamed, and the consequences weren't pretty. I screeched as loud as I could. 2 of the windows of the surrounding houses broke. A strong gush of wind caused small trees to be torn out of the ground and papers from another man to fly through the air. My 2 friends fell over backwards, finding themselves lucky enough to be behind me instead of in front of me. A streetlight broke. 2 tiles on the road pavement were ripped in half. Several shingles fell off some rooftop, and 5 bricks fall out of the closest building. It was a disaster for anyone or anything within hearing distance. And the guy? He tumbled backwards and was blown away about 20 feet, spinning in the air and hitting a wall with his head. Knockout! Ha! Serves you right. But then I came closer and saw he was bleeding from the back of his head. An ambulance was called, and efforts were made to get him to the hospital immediately. Eventually, we managed to do so. The doctors said he was going to be fine, but I still felt a little guilty, because what I did was a somewhat over the top. Either way, he never bothered me again. At moments like these, I knew that I could control my superpower to a degree, but not completely. I had to watch out, so that I wouldn't regrettably destroy something or hurt someone on accident. Chapter 3. Practice. I'm still convinced that a lot of things we learn in school are useless because we can look them up on the internet anyway. Whatever it is you want to learn, it's somewhere to be found. Well, almost anything. Since I was such an upbeat girl with a strong personality, I began to be interested in martial arts. I learned much about several ones, but some of the self-defense techniques fascinated me the most. I loved that feeling of safety, which increased when I knew how to defend myself. Hey, the city is a dangerous place. Robbers, thieves, and other malicious criminals are certainly out there. So I decided to guard myself against those, just in case something were to happen. And something did happen, but I will write about that later. First and foremost, I used internet videos to improve my techniques. At times, I asked my mom to train with me, but she was never any good at it, so most of the time I just wouldn't bother her with it. I practiced in front of the mirror. I bought a punching bag, and I studied each and every video carefully, mimicking the moves I saw the instructors do. I got really good at fighting, I have to admit. I became so good that some of the guys were talking about it in school. Eventually, one of them came up to me and challenged me to a wrestling match. I know, girls don't wrestle much, but I didn't shy away from the competition. I was going to participate and show them some girl power. Hundreds of students came to watch. This was the big after-school event of the day. A strong guy against a girl who claimed to know something about fighting. Doesn't that sound like something everyone would want to attend? So here I was, in a tight outfit that covered up the most important and respected parts of my body, ready to wrestle a muscled dude who had years of experience. The crowd was noisier than ever. The girls rooted for me, and the boys rooted for my opponent, shouting to, "Go it easy on her, she's just a girl." The guy laughed. "Show me what you've got," he said. Well, if there was anything I learned from all those self-taught self-defense classes, it was that the best way to overcome your opponent is by anticipating their attacks and using them against them. So I did. I just stood there, calm on the outside, but alert in my entire being. "Come and get me," I answered. He laughed again. "Suit yourself," he said, and he came at me, trying to grab my waist. I dodged his attack, and all the girls started cheering out loud. "Woohoo!" it went. I got distracted because of the crowd's reaction, so I didn't see his next blow coming. He dashed forward and threw me on the ground. "Ooh!" the guys yelled with attitude. We tumbled over the floor, trying to grab any limb we could use to force the other into an awkward position. I turned and used his legs for leverage, pulling him back on his chin like I was trying to pop open a jar. "Ouch! Ouch!" he wailed. "1, 2, 3, the referee said while my opponent tried to free himself from my grip, but it was pointless. 8, 9, 10, winner, the referee ended up saying. I released him and wanted to give him a low 5, but he just turned away and walked out of the gym. His ego got shot. His pride was gone. Too bad. So sad. A year later, I had a crush on the very same guy. Go figure how unstable my emotions were sometimes. The girls went nuts. They came running at me in excitement. Some of them hugged me, and others carried me away. It was like crowd surfing, and I loved the attention. Girls versus boys. The girls had won. "Great job, Chelsea," one of them said. "You sure showed him," another one said. I was a lot more popular after that. The funny thing was that after that, whenever there was a fight in school, boys would threaten their enemies with, "You better watch out, or I will ask Chelsea to beat you up." They knew I would never do that, but it became a big joke. I heard some guys even got a little scared because of those threats. It was hilarious. So yes, I studied all those martial arts, specialized in self-defense, and after a while, I even started watching kung fu movies. The weirdest thing about some of those movies is how unrealistically high they can jump. So I asked my mom what was up with that, why it was so unreal. She simply said, "You know how gravity pulls us down on this side of the world?" "Yes," I answered, "but what does that have to do with anything?" "Well, if gravity pulls us down on this side of the world, then on the other side of the world, what does it do?" I got it. I understood what she was trying to say. She claimed the Chinese in those movies jumped so high because in China, gravity pulls you up. It made sense. Wait a minute. No, really? I turned around and looked at her. She smiled mischievously. She was just kidding. Of course gravity doesn't pull you up. Maybe the kung fu movies displayed such giant leaps to just make it look more exciting. The action certainly entertained me, so you won't hear me complain. Chapter 4. Being a Little Girl. Okay, let's go back for about 7 years to the time that I was, 7 of course, because I just thought of something. I was even very loud as a little girl, even as a baby, or so my mom told me. I was at a theme park. You know, one of those parks with roller coaster, shooting galleries, and delicious candy and hot dogs. My mom had organized a birthday party. I had turned 7 and it was to be celebrated. I was so happy, I could hardly contain myself. I wanted to go on every ride, eat every snack, and watch every show. There were 4 other girls whom I called my best friends forever, or BFF. It was a lot of fun. At a certain moment, we decided to go on the boat that would go through the haunted mansion. It looked scary, but exciting. I stood in line, nervously and happily waiting to buy my ticket. Mom had given me enough money for all of us. I got the tickets and we hopped into the boat. At first, it was a bit dark, but once the boat floated along the stream, we heard eerie noises and saw flashy lights in front of us. Then it happened. A creepy skeleton head popped out of the wall and appeared right in front of me. It was fun to get the thrill, but it made me scream. As girls, you expect to scream in rides like that. It makes it so much more fun. But because I screamed so loudly, most of the lights broke, leaving us in the dark. The skeleton head exploded into 100 pieces, which dropped into the boat, white and gray cardboard pieces that fell on our heads and into our laps. All the other girls started screaming, and the following 60 seconds of the ride were pitch black. When we exited, my mom looked at me and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore." She was right. There was no point in telling anyone. It was weird, but it was just how it was. It was my superpower, even though I did not realize at the time where it came from. Similar things occurred when I was in the roller coasters. I screamed for fun, sometimes closing my eyes and feeling the strong wind blow in my face, enjoying myself completely. However, one time I screamed so loud that it gave the roller coaster a boost. Some people were scared. They didn't expect the increase of speed and cried out that they wanted to get out. The ride went faster and faster, and at the end, it came to a sudden, quicker stop than usual. It was so cool. I really got a kick out of it. My friends told me it was the best roller coaster in the park, assuming that this was the regular speed it was supposed to go at. But when we tried to get in line again, they told us the ride was out of order. "It's in need of repairs," the man with the dark sunglasses said. "But it was open just a few minutes ago," I protested. "I know, but something went wrong. Someone even passed out on the ride. They called an ambulance. Anyway, it's none of your business, little girls. The ride is closed for the day. Go to other rides." "That's a bummer," I mumbled while walking away with my friends. "This one was the most fun." "Too bad that the other ones are so slow. They're for little kids," my friend said. "Yeah, and we are big," the other one said. It was only a few weeks ago that I realized what really happened. The ride wasn't that fast by itself, but it became faster because I screamed so loud. Duh! I don't know why I never drew that conclusion before. That birthday was a lot of fun, but now that I think of it, it was quite the disaster, too. Let me tell you of another instance of what went wrong on the same day. After the theme park, we all went home, still chatting about the wonderful times we had there. My mom parked the car, took her keys out of her pocket, and opened the front door. We barged in and played with dolls and clothes, checking ourselves out in front of the mirror by putting on different outfits by the minute. Then my mom came in with a big birthday cake. It was a bunny. I loved bunnies. The shape of the cake was in an actual bunny. I was so excited that I screamed, "Ow, that's so awesome!" The consequences of my exuberant expression weren't very positive, though. The beautiful brown chocolate fudge cake exploded in my mother's face. She got startled and dropped the cake on the new carpet. One of the candles was still burning, and because of that, the carpet caught fire. Now my mom was screaming, grabbing a bucket and putting it under the faucet in the sink, filling it up with water. Once she thought she had enough, she poured the water over the carpet, ruining the cake and the clean cover of our valuable floor. I had mixed feelings. In a way, it was funny, but I ruined everything. I apologized that evening, and my mom said she understood. She wasn't angry, but it made her wonder why the cake exploded. Back then, it was all still a big mystery. Since that time, other events have happened throughout my childhood that made my screams so loud it destroyed surrounding objects. I won't bother you with all the details, because it basically all comes down to the same thing. My superpower is the sonic scream, and once I found out, I hoped I could use it in my advantage, or better yet, to help another person. Chapter 5. Mom! It was Thursday. I came home from school. After opening the door and hanging up my coat on the rack, I looked around and yelled, "Mom, I'm home!" Nothing. "Mom, are you there?" It remained silent. Huh. Strange, I said, and I walked into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a small hamburger and some corn on the cob. The microwave, always a quick solution. While the little appliance was buzzing and turning my snacks, I glanced at the mail and the note on the fridge. Mom always left notes on the fridge or on the table. She let me know where she was all the time so I wouldn't have to worry. I expected the note to say something like, "Went to the supermarket. We'll be back at 5. Go ahead and take a cookie from the cupboard." But instead the note read something entirely different, something that horrified me, something... Okay, whatever, this is what it said. "Help, call police, 5000 West Street." This sounded serious. Was she kidnapped? That would be terrible. Immediately I picked up the phone and called the cops. Within minutes they arrived at my doorstep. One of the police officers was big and had a mustache. He had a low voice and stomped on the floor everywhere he went. "Please explain the situation, madam," he said. Madam? He was calling me a madam? I was only 14. I blushed a little, flattered because I appeared more mature than my age. "Well, my mom left this note," I began. "She must be at or around this address somewhere." "Understood. We'll take you with us. It's not safe for you here. Please follow me to our vehicle, madam." The police officers took me to the designated address. However, there was no such thing as 5000 West Street. It was the name of the street, not any particular house. Perhaps she didn't know the exact address, I thought out loud. "Perhaps," the police officer said. "Yes, you may be right. Men, we are going to knock on every house in the street. Notify me of anything that stands out, anything suspicious at all. We will sort this out." The officers left the car and told me to stay in or near the car. Of course, I didn't listen. I have a mind of my own. I was going to help crack the case. I stood there for about 10 minutes, watching all these policemen knock on doors and looking for any signs of an abduction myself. Then I saw something. It was a boy, probably around 10 years old. He looked like he was up to something. I followed him, but he saw me. He started to run away. We ran and ran. I was catching up. I came closer. Hey, where did he go? I searched everywhere. It took me about 20 seconds to find him hidden in the bushes. I pulled him out and looked at him with a stern facial expression. "I can explain," he said. "Explain what? What are you doing here? What do you know about my mom?" "Please don't hurt me. I don't mean any harm." "Okay, but only if you tell me what you know about the kidnapping." "Kidnapping? I don't know what is going on, but I saw 2 big guys drag a woman into a house. Was that your mom? Did they kidnap her?" "Sure sounds like it," I said. "Now show me where the house is." "Okay, follow me. It's not too far from here." It was pretty far, actually. It was a long street, and the house he showed me was all the way on the other side of the corner. I panted as I arrived at the correct building after sprinting for over 5 minutes. "That's it," he said. "I don't know anything else. May I go now?" "Hold on," I said, catching my breath. "One more thing before you're off the hook. I can see one can enter through the front door, but is there another way in? You know, a sneakier way?" "I believe there is a back door, but I'm not sure. I guess you'll have to try and find out." He left. Taking courage, I headed towards the house. It was gigantic. It was clear that these people, whoever lived there, were insanely rich. Their balconies, windows, and garage were extravagant and exaggeratedly huge. Everything was topped off with sophisticated handiwork and expensive materials. Whatever it was that these people did for a living, maybe that's what I wanted to do. I went around the house and ducked when I passed the windows. The police were way on the other side of the street, so I was too impatient to go get them. Besides, what if something happened to my mom in the meantime? I snuck to the back door and opened it up. What I saw there was both terrifying and surprising at the same time. Chapter 6. Criminals. My mom was sitting in a chair, bound and gagged without any space to move, prevented from saying anything. The ropes they tied her with looked uncomfortable and tight. She was in an awful position, and I feared for her life. 3 men with guns were surrounding her, one of them with an even bigger than the others. I could tell. The guy in charge ripped the thing in her mouth away and came closer. His face was only a few inches away from her head. "Now listen, you little serpent. You've been avoiding your payment for the past 5 months, and I've had it," he said softly. "So here's the deal. You're going to give us what you rightfully owe us." He tugged on her shirt and yelled in her face, "Or we'll make you suffer until you wished you were dead. Understood?" My mom turned her face away from his yelling threats, waiting until he was done. Then she told him calmly, "Look, I already told you I don't have the money. Don't you think I would pay up if I did? I already paid you back the $10,000. What else do you want? Don't you have enough already?" The criminal walked around her and said, facing the wall, "It's not so much a matter of having enough, Missy. You owe us. You signed the contract, and now you are facing the consequences. The guys and I don't take stealing lightly." "Oh, and charging me 300% interest per month is something you don't consider stealing?" my mom said, defending her case. "If you didn't agree with the amount, you shouldn't have signed. Now you're stuck, and we want our share." "I didn't know what I was doing. You tricked me into this. I didn't even see the interest rate. Just let me go." "You'd like that, wouldn't you?" the man said. "Every loan has an interest rate. You should have realized that before you borrowed that huge amount of money from us. We need your payment now." "But I can't. I just can't. Is there no way you could just forget about the interest and call it square?" The evil dude laughed. "I guess we cannot come to an agreement. So instead, we'll get our justice by taking revenge. At least we'll have an emotional compensation for our financial losses." These guys were sick. They scammed my mom out of her money. I had to do something. Chapter 7. Get out of here. One of the men walked to another table and grabbed a knife. "Please," my mom begged in desperation. "I'll do anything. Just let me go and I'll find the money somewhere." "You've had enough warnings. It's too late now. This is what you get for making rash decisions." "Oh, so now you're going to teach me a lesson, huh?" my mom said sarcastically. "Well, that makes you nothing less than an evil hypocrite." Nothing else was said. I held my breath as I contemplated stepping between my mom and these filthy thugs. My heart was beating faster. I doubted at first, but eventually I was determined to intervene. I stepped out of the shadows where I was hiding and opened my loud, obnoxious mouth. "Let my mom go or I'll make you regret it," I yelled. 3 guns were now pointing at me, making me feel a little anxious about the situation I just got myself into. At first they looked serious, but then they lowered their guns and started laughing. "A little girl like you? What could you possibly do about it? Throw your earrings at us? Come on, you couldn't harm a fly if you wanted to." "One last warning," I said with a stern face, even though I was shaking in fear on the inside. "Put those guns down and you won't get hurt." They laughed even louder, mocking me with hand gestures and pointing their fingers at me. That was it. I had it with these criminals. They were about to pay. What happened at that moment, nobody in the room could have suspected except for my mom and me. I stepped back, opened my mouth, and screamed as loud and long as I could. "Ah!" It lasted for half a minute. In the meantime, their faces turned from happy to fearful. The ground began to shake, objects fell from the tables, books dropped from the shelves, and windows shattered. The door was ripped from its hinges. Parts of the wall broke up, their guns melted, and the rope my mom was tied with was ripped apart. The chair she was sitting on was knocked over, and the 3 thugs fell backwards, flying through the air and hitting their faces against the back wall. Parts of the ceiling collapsed, and all the lights in the house were broken, leaving shattered pieces of glass on the floor. When I was done screaming my lungs out, I took a deep breath and said, "That's right, don't mess with my mom. You can all go take a hike." My mom got up from the chair and embraced me. The criminals were still knocked out behind her. A few seconds later, the police showed up. They had heard the noise and were drawn to it like mosquitoes to a lamp. "What's going on here, madam?" one of the police officers asked. "See that, Mom? He called me madam," I said excitedly. "I was actually talking to your mother, kiddo," the officer said. "Hey, what happened to—" But I couldn't finish my sentence. "This young lady saved me from a bunch of extortionists who blackmailed me and scammed me out of my money," my mom said. "She is a true heroine." "We'll research the matter thoroughly, madam." Chapter 8. Saying Sorry. Ambulances, construction workers, more policemen, fire trucks, and people from the neighborhood filled up the villa in no time. My mom and I were safely guided home by one of the officers. With a thud, we let ourselves drop on the comfy couch. "Why did you get a loan, Mom? Doesn't Dad make enough already?" "I know it was wrong," she said. "One of my friends got in trouble. Her insurance company wouldn't pay for her surgery. You know, so many of those companies always find a loophole. So I told her she could loan the money from me and start paying me back once she would recover. It sounded so good at the time, but these guys had all kinds of small letters, rules, and clauses at the bottom that I didn't take the time to read the contract. If I knew I would have signed up for something with that much interest to be paid, I would have looked elsewhere." "I understand, Mom," I said. "It wasn't an easy decision, but even though you made a mistake, I am still proud of you." "And I'm proud of you, Chelsea. I don't know what those rough men would have done to me if you hadn't come between us. I owe you so much." "Don't worry about it, Mom," I said with a smile. "Well, how about an ice cream party?" "I'm not going to say no to that," I said as I jumped up. "Hey, what's going on here?" a voice asked from the other room. It was my dad. He just got home from a business trip and had a whole weekend to spend with us. He looked tired, but glad to be home again. "Dad!" I shouted as I ran towards him and gave him a hug. "Good to see you, Chelsea." "Hi, honey, good to be back. So tell me, what's happening here?" "Oh, Mom and I are just going to the ice cream shop," I said. "Want to join us?" "Are you kidding? I love ice cream," my dad said. We grabbed the car keys and held the door open for us. "Ladies," he said elegantly. I was so happy. This turned out to be one of the best days of my life. The end.